Well, first up, a new deal. You must be happy about that.
Yeah, wrapped. I think I said this morning the club came to me probably 6 weeks ago and said, "Do you want to extend out?" And I said I thought about it for probably a minute, and then said, "Yeah, let's do something." And then it all got done pretty quick. So it's how I like it, and now we'll move on.
That's always a good conversation to have, though, I imagine.
Yeah, it's one you like to hear when your manager calls. There's obviously a couple of things that go through your head when you have a missed call from your manager, and I certainly didn't really expect the call. And then he said, "Look, the club's interested in taking out another year," and I said, "Yeah, let's go for it."
So what made you respond so quickly with a strong yes?
I think for me, I've been here 8 years now. This is my 9th, and I'm really happy with the footy club, and the club's got a really strong direction of where they're heading, and I'm really excited. And we've had a good couple of years. I've made some prelims, and I really I owe a lot to this footy club and what it's been able to give for me. So it was a pretty straightforward conversation.
You talk about the direction of the footy club. There's been some critics, I guess, of North's strategy, perhaps not doing too much during the trade period,
Yep.
not being on the front foot. What do you, as a senior player here now, make of that?
I can only back in the guys, the decision makers upstairs, and we get fed bits and pieces to what they're trying to achieve and what they're trying to do. But personally, I just feel like we've got a lot of young kids here that perhaps haven't had the exposure to the league, and perhaps a lot of the other clubs and their young kids have, and not only that, we've got a lot of older guys here who've probably suffered from some injuries over the last couple of years, and I've got full confidence in the older guys getting back to their best, and the younger guys really bumping us up as well. So I'm really confident, and they've obviously got a plan upstairs that they're following through, and to be honest, having a plan is obviously a really good thing, and they're sticking to it, which is good as well.
So what are they telling you about the plan? Because for North fans, I guess the perception could be that, Jesus, is this going to be a really bleak year?
Yeah, I think we were told last year after we got rid of some senior players that last year was going to be a bleak year, and we finished towards the bottom of the ladder, but I think all our fans would agree that we were able to play some good footy, and certainly we were never blown out of the water in any games, and we knocked off Adelaide by however many points it was, and I just think next year there's so much upside, and there's so much excitement as well, that for the fans, they'll come out no doubt next year. We've got a great group of fans that they support us week in, week out, and I just think next year will be no different, and we'll see how we go.
Now, there has been personally offended by some comments. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I just over the off season, I said I'm a morning coffee and a read the paper kind of guy, and you do read a little bit what's said, and I just thought I didn't necessarily agree with what was said, and obviously I've got my opinion from inside the footy club and what I see and how I view it, and it wasn't so much what was written about me personally, but about some of our other guys. I just thought there's some guys that have achieved a fairly large amount in their careers, and they're probably just getting downplayed a little bit, and that was more what I was referring to there. And I just having a chat to Cunners before, and I said he probably struggles to read the paper, let alone read it all. So he probably didn't read it, but it certainly won't affect him. But I just thought that to classify someone like him as a B-grade player, I thought that was probably a little bit disrespectful and unfair.
What do you say to critics that say that you've got the worst or the least talented list in the competition?
Oh, that's just not something I necessarily agree with. I think they're paid to have their opinion, and that's like all reporters. They're there to have an opinion, and it's what's good about footy is everyone's got the right to speak up, and however they view it is how they view it. How I view it is obviously why I've re-signed for another year. Is if I thought that, I wouldn't have re-signed. It's pretty simple as that.
Sorry, why do you think it is that some of these big name players chose other clubs other than North Melbourne in the end?
It's a good question. I think, I can only speak from my personal opinion. I know when I, North came to me and said, would you like to do another deal, I didn't even entertain going anywhere else. So there's a number of factors as to why players might stay or not come. But I look back, we got Nick D'Alessandro, we got Sean Higgins. They're two reasonably big names that have gone in free agency, and I think we've actually got a pretty good strike rate. Yeah, we missed out on 2 last year that was well publicised, but that's 2 we've missed out on. But what about the ones before that as well that we have got? So I think there's certainly, I wouldn't say everyone's turning their back on us.
How did the playing group feel about Andrew Swallow's departure? It wasn't with much fanfare for a guy who's obviously done so much as a former skipper of the club. Normally former skippers depart. It's a big deal, and he's kind of just faded out of the club over the off season.
Yeah, I wouldn't say faded out. We've all been in touch with him and had conversations with him along the way, but I think for him, he was obviously really keen to get to Gold Coast and support his brother up there, and everyone inside these 4 walls know what kind of guy he is, and he's 3-time Sid Barker medalist here. He's captained the club for I think 5 years, played over 200 games. He's got so much respect from all the boys here, and I know he's over in Perth at the minute, but he'll come back, and the boys will certainly wrap their arms around him when he walks through those doors, and he'll be a North Melbourne person for the rest of his life, no doubt.
Where do you see the club finishing in 2018? It's not on the bottom of the ladder, as others have said. Where is it?
Yeah, it's a challenging question. I think last year Richmond were supposed to not even make the 8. So, if you asked them that question, they would have said they wanted to win the flag, and they did. So, I mean, we're obviously shooting for that. Where we finish, I'm not sure. I mean, there's so much upside to this group out here now that there are guys that have played 10, 15, 20, 30 games who you just never know what they're going to produce, and hopefully over the next 6 to 8 weeks, leading into Christmas, they'll be able to put in a good sort of block on the track and really improve, and not only that, it's up to the older guys as well to improve as well. And I think if we get older guys improving, young guys improving, the sky's the limit, and I said that this morning as well, the sky's the limit in terms of where we can finish, and as we saw last year as well, we were written off early and zipping 5, and we've still managed to challenge some teams along the way, so we'll have a crack.
If you were our editors, is that the headline, North to do a Richmond?
Yep, please do that, yeah. You never know, like it's the Bulldogs the year before as well, they were certainly not really up in calculations either, so I think the way the competition is now, and especially I think the bye leading into the finals has a big impact as well. 1 week off for these guys who are so professional, you can really freshen up as well, so it is honestly anybody's game. I mean, so much can change. All it takes is perhaps one small tactical change. It might, give you a massive edge. You never know. Just a fit list could be a massive change for us as well. So yeah, it's anything can happen.
You obviously listen to a little bit of that noise and read things. Do other players, you said Ben Cunnington probably doesn't, but what's the culture within the club? Do they listen to the outside noise?
Oh no, each their own. It's and to be honest, it's not something we really speak about either. It's more just, as I say, you've usually in Melbourne probably average wait time for a coffee 7 to 8 minutes in the morning, so that gets me enough to get maybe 4 or 5 pages deep in the sport. But whether other guys read it, I'm not sure. I know, for instance, Zeebs is a massive coffee man as well, so he probably has a flick through. I really don't know. As I say, it's not really something is really brought up. And, even the stuff I was mentioning, it was all done in the off-season. So, we've got contact with players at the off-season, but not enough to, really go into the nitty-gritty.